Playtime, a dark web story by CJ Quinn. A dim light sputtered overhead, its orange glow fighting to breathe life into the darkness. Each flicker revealed fragments of the room, a hoarder's graveyard of rusted tools, cracked barrels, and empty, stained cages. Damp air clung to the walls, heavy with the stench of rot and oil. There were no windows, no hint of the outside world, only that struggling light, pulsing like a dying heartbeat. The silence was suffocating. Then, faintly, it fractured. The faint sound of a woman's muffled cry cut through the air. At the center of the room sat a rotting table, its surface pitted and scarred. Opposite it, a young woman was bound to a chair, half naked and trembling. Her skin was a map of pain, deep cuts crossing over bruises old and new. Sweat flicked her pale flesh, making her shiver in the cold air. A filthy rag gagged her mouth, swallowing every attempt to scream. Her breathing quickened as something in the air changed. The stillness was broken again. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed through the dark. Each step grew heavier and closer. Behind a hanging white sheet, splattered with blood long dried, a shadow took shape. It stretched upward, tall and unmoving, its outline distorted by the flickering light. The woman's eyes widened. She could feel its presence, watching, waiting. The footsteps stopped. The shadow did not move. Tears welled in her eyes as she shut them tight, willing herself to wake from the nightmare she found herself in. But the light flickered once more, and the shadow beneath the sheet stayed perfectly still. After what felt like an eternal moment of torment, the sheet finally tore open with a violent rip, the sound slicing through the heavy silence, and from behind it stepped the figure she had prayed would never come back. A man, half naked, his pale flesh smeared with dirt and oil, emerged into the flickering orange light. Streaks of clown makeup clung to his face in cracked, uneven smudges. The red of his lips distorted into a jagged grin. Sweat basted his hairy torso, the grime catching the light like old grease. He loomed over her, his shadow swallowing her trembling body. "What are you crying for?" he rasped, his voice warped and distorted, as though filtering through broken speakers. "It's showtime now, and all your fans are watching." A laugh erupted from him, harsh and manic as it echoed around the confined room. As he circled her, he dragged the back of his hand across her face, his skin clammy and slick with sweat. She recoiled, tears streaming down her cheeks, her muffled cries catching in her throat. The clown's grin faltered. He turned suddenly, fisting a handful of her hair and jerking her head back until her neck strained. His breath reeked of harsh tobacco as he leaned close, his painted eyes wide with mock fury. "Listen to me," he hissed, jabbing a filthy finger toward her face. "Don't you dare be a naughty girl. You'll ruin the show." The words dripped with venom, his distorted tone trembling between amusement and rage. He held her there for a moment longer, savoring her terror, before letting her head fall forward, like a puppet whose strings had just been cut. He pulled up a chair, sitting next to the distressed woman, facing the same way she was, both now facing a camera, as he once again grabbed her hair, holding her head back so her terror-filled eyes could be seen. "Now that's a good girl. Say hello to everyone." The clown chuckled as he waved at the camera. "Welcome back to the show. I know you've all been waiting, but the votes are now finally in," he said, as if acknowledging a crowd. Reaching his hand out, he peeled back a dirty white cloth covering a table, slowly revealing its hidden contents, with what appeared to be a two-pronged meat carver and a rusted metal plate. The clown proceeded to pick up the carver slowly, digging the prongs into the table's surface, twisting it as he chipped away at the wood, showing how sharp it actually was. He pulled it back out as he began to wave at the camera, staring at the woman menacingly. The woman closed her eyes, looking away helplessly as fear crippled her. "With the votes counted on what to do to this useless piece of meat next, well, we had a clear winner," he chuckled. "The winner was Choose a body part to eat. And oh, I know just my favorite part. He rested his face on the woman's cheek, slowly rubbing his paint-smeared face across her tear-soaked cheek. He smiled as he turned, kissing the side of her face as she tried to resist his hot, stale breath and repulsive actions. And I won't keep you waiting any longer, ladies and gentlemen, he said. His sinister laugh echoed around the unsanitized workshop as he stood up. He pulled the woman's head back as he began to clamp open her eye with his fingers, his dirt-ridden nail dug into her eyelids. The woman's haunting scream echoed aloud as she feared what was next. Look at that pretty green eye. It looks so good, so juicy, he calmly said, raising the pronged carver, and without a moment's hesitation, he slowly pierced its sharp, rusted tip through her eye, her body convulsing as she squirmed in agony. Blood gushed down the side of her face like a fountain of crimson. The clown twisted the carver as the unspeakable pain could be heard in the woman's haunting screams, his fingers clamping down on the eyeball as he pulled it from its socket, placing it down on the rusted metal plate. The woman's head flopped to the side as she seemingly passed out from the agonizing pain. There you go, people. A tasty treat. I think I'll save that for later, he bellowed as he basked in his despicable actions. Walking out of sight, the sound of scraping broke from the direction he went. He slowly re-emerged as he dragged into view a large wooden chest. Unlocking it, he pulled open the lid to reveal a large space filled with barbed wire. His attention returned back to the injured woman. He began to cut off the ropes tying the woman to the chair, picking her up over his shoulder. He turned as he flung her down into the chest, slamming the lid down on her. Now, whilst she has a rest, the next poll will soon open for what I take next. I look forward to hearing from you all, he said, staring deep into the camera, breathing heavily as the sound suddenly became distorted, the clown freezing in motion as crackled lines distorted his image. The pause icon hovered on a laptop screen like a black eye. On the table it sat open, frozen frames of the feed reflected in the clown's smeared makeup. He sat opposite, wrists shackled to the metal. A slow, satisfied smile tugged at his painted mouth, as if he had just watched his favorite movie. Across from him, Detective Alex O'Neill closed the lid with a soft, final click, and slid a manila folder towards the clown. The detective's face was a hard line. His voice sounded flat as a blade. Lucy Kim, he said, flipping the photo up so the clown could see the face of the woman from the footage. The victim from your sick stream. We found her, mutilated, along with 3 other unidentified remains. The clown cocked his head, as if surprised by the number. 3, he echoed, mock innocent. Huh, is that all? Must have done a real good job on the others then. A wet chuckle leaked out of him. No remorse, no shame for his inhumane actions. A flicker of something cold slid over the detective's expression. He set his pen down gently, closed the folder with a single, controlled motion, and stared. Well, it's over for you now, Alex said. His voice hitched just enough to betray the anger he kept coiled. The game's up. We'll find those other people and you'll pay for every single one of them. The clown slumped back, hands slack at the cuffs, eyes rising lazily to the ceiling, as if bored by the detective's promise. He began to chuckle to himself, the sound soft and dangerous. You don't get it, do you, detective? He said finally, and the joke dropped from his tone like a sinking stone. You really think I'm the only one out there? His smile thinned into something flat and serious. There are more like me. The show doesn't stop because of me. He leaned forward, the light catching the grease in his hair. You dug too deep this time. You don't know what you've opened yourself up to, detective. Alex felt the room tilt. The clown's voice turned intimate, conspiratorial. Once you started searching, tracking us, you became visible. He met Alex's eyes with a slow, deliberate stare. You became visible to us, Mr. Alex O'Neill. Hearing his full name hit like a right hook, Alex's jaw clenched. For a moment his composure frayed into plain confusion. How do you know my name? he questioned, his pulse rising. He forced a half grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Did another officer tell you? You overhear one of my colleagues, did you? Nice try." He laughed, trying to convince himself. If only that were the case. The clown sighed, almost regretful in a way that made Alex's skin crawl. "When you dove into our world, you shone bright as a marker, and now I know all about you," he smiled. "Married to your childhood sweetheart. One daughter, 11. How was Sarah's last soccer game, by the way?" The words landed with a sickening intimacy. Alex snapped to his feet so fast the chair scraped. He shoved to the table with one hand. The motion was half fury, half instinctive need to put distance between him and the man who had named his life. He stormed to the door, pounding his fist against its sturdy frame. 2 uniformed officers moved in the doorway as Alex's chair toppled behind him. They stepped forward, steady and automatic, hands ready to restrain if needed, but straining their eyes on the clown with a mixture of disgust and wariness. The clown watched Alex storm the perimeter of the interrogation room with an almost tender curiosity, as if observing a creature that had finally noticed the cage he found himself in. "Get this crazy fuck out of my sight!" Alex barked, voice cracking under the weight of something that sounded too much like fear. The clown only grinned wider, teeth gleaming in the fluorescent light. "What's wrong, detective? Did I touch a nerve? Does the truth scare you?" The 2 officers grabbed him, but the clown didn't make it easy. He twisted and laughed as they dragged him towards the door. "Get home safe, Alex," he called over his shoulder. "I'm sure we'll be seeing you soon." "The only thing you'll be seeing," Alex shot back, stepping forward until they were nearly nose to nose, "is the inside of a cell for the rest of your life." The clown's chuckle followed him out, low and mean, until the door slammed shut. Silence swallowed the room. Alex rubbed at his eyes, the dark bags beneath them stinging with exhaustion. He hadn't slept in days, maybe longer. On the table, the laptop still sat like a wound that wouldn't close. His finger hovered momentarily. Then, it pressed play. The footage flickered to life again, and the room filled with the soft, mechanical whir of horror. He told himself he was watching for answers, but deep down he knew. He just couldn't look away. The moon hung low behind drifting clouds, a dull silver eye watching from a black sky. A storm was moving in. He could smell it in the wind. A car rolled quietly up to the drive, tires crunching on gravel. Its headlights swept across the front of the O'Neill house before fading into the night. The engine died, and the silence that followed was almost a relief. Alex stepped out, the cold biting at his face. He was bone-tired, the kind of tired that felt stitched into his skin. But he was finally home. He closed the door, turning toward the house, but froze as something caught his attention from the corner of his passing eye. Down the street, under a streetlight, stood a figure, still, hooded, seemingly facing his direction. Alex squinted, trying to make sense of the shape, but the light threw strange shadows. "Everything okay out there?" he called out, voice carrying farther than he meant it to. But nothing. He was met with silence. The figure didn't move. It just stood, watching. The sound of a lock turning made him glance back. "Daddy!" came a small, joyful voice. The tension broke like glass. Sarah burst through the front door and ran to him, arms open wide. "Daddy's home!" Alex bent, scooping her up, the warmth of her tiny body washing away the cold. "Hey, princess," he murmured, kissing her hair before looking back towards the street. The figure was gone. Just an empty patch of light and shadow remained, like no one had ever been there. He stood staring a second longer, before forcing a smile and carrying Sarah up the driveway. On the porch, Claire waited on the doorway, her arms folded tight but her eyes soft. "Hey, babe," he said, kissing her cheek as he stepped inside with Sarah. The smell of home, the evening supper, something sweet baking in the distance hit him like a wave. "You're late," Claire said. "I was worried." "I know, I should have called," he smiled. adrenaline lighting up his tired eyes. But we finally got him. I did it, Claire. All those months, all that digging, we nailed the bastard. He's never going to see daylight again. Her face softened with relief, and she pulled him close. That's great. Are you finally off the case now? You've been different lately. I was starting to worry how deep you were getting. Alex looked into her eyes, a real smile breaking through for the first time in weeks. Before he could answer, a small hand tugged at his sleeve. Can you read me a bedtime story, Daddy? Sarah asked, eyes wide with sleepy hope. Of course I can. He lifted her easily, her laughter echoing down the hallway. How about you pick the story? Claire leaned in, kissing his cheek again. Go on. I'll pour us a drink after that. Deal, Alex said, heading for the stairs. Sarah's happy chatter filled the house, a welcome sound after months of dread and violence. For a moment, everything felt almost normal. Claire watched them climb, her heart unclenching a little for the first time in months. Maybe it was really over. Maybe she finally had her husband back. She smiled, locking the front door and turning off the porch light. Outside, the wind had picked up. A single streetlight flickered at the end of the road, the one that had held a figure only minutes before. And for the briefest moment, just before it blinked out, something pressed, festering in the shadows. Thunder rolled across the night like the anger of something ancient, shaking the foundations of the house. Rain battered the windows, a relentless percussion that filled every corner of the darkened bedroom where Alex lay fast asleep. A flash of lightning split the sky and lit his face for a heartbeat, white and ghostly. He stirred, mumbling, one arm stretching across the bed in search of warmth. But instead his fingers met only cold sheets. Another sound, louder this time. A sharp, heavy bang that shattered the rhythm of the rain. Alex bolted upright, heart jackhammering. For a second he didn't know where he was. The room, the storm, the world felt alien. Claire? His voice was thick with sleep. He reached again for her side of the bed, but the space was empty, cold as the ice. Confusion flickered through him. He swung his legs over the edge of the mattress and padded barefoot to the window. The rain shimmered silver in the lightning, washing over the yard. Nothing moved, only the old swing set creaking in the wind. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw it. The bedroom door was open. He didn't remember leaving it that way. And there, hovering in the blackness of the hallway, a faint red dot glowed, steady, pulsing. He squinted. What the? He whispered. What is that? His mind questioned. A recording light. As he focused, he finally made the outline of a camera. It sat on a tripod, pointed straight at him. A chill ran down his spine so fast it stole his breath. Claire, his whisper barely left his throat. Where are you? Another crash burst from the night as a window shuddered violently. Alex spun back towards it, ripping the curtain wide open. And then he froze. The garden wasn't empty anymore. A hooded figure sat on the swing, moving slowly back and forth. Water ran off the figure's coat in black streams. Beneath the hood, a white porcelain mask stared up at him, unblinking. Hey! Alex shouted, voice cracking. What the fuck is this? The swing creaked once, twice. The masked head tilted slightly to one side. Panic surged up his throat. He lunged for the bedside drawer, yanked it open, and grabbed his Beretta. The metal was cold, reassuring in his sweating hand. He shoved past the camera, knocking it sideways, and crept into the hallway. Every shadow seemed alive. The air smelled of rain and static. Claire, he hissed, where are you? But there was no answer, just the hiss of storm against glass. Then, a sound drifted, soft from down the hall as the door creaked open. It was Sarah's room. He turned the corner, gun raised. The door opened a sliver, and his daughter's small, frightened face appeared. Daddy, she whispered. I'm scared. Alex dropped to his knees, holstering the weapon, pulling her into his arms. Hey, baby, it's okay. His voice trembled despite him. You're safe, all right? Is Mummy in there with you? Sarah shook her head, tears glimmering. No, I'm not supposed to leave my room. The nasty clown told me to stay in there. Alex froze. His breath caught as he choked on it. Was Clown the one who took Mummy? Her voice broke on the last word. The blood drained from his face. For a heartbeat, he couldn't move, couldn't think. The world tilted under him. He kissed her forehead. Listen to me, sweetheart. You hide in here, okay? Find somewhere safe. Don't come out until you hear me. I'll get Mummy back. Sarah nodded through her tears. He eased her door shut and turned away, his heart pounding like it was trying to escape his chest. Downstairs, a faint light pulsed. Alex gripped the Beretta and started down the steps. The wooden boards creaked beneath his feet, swallowed by the sound of the storm. Halfway down, a hiss reached his ears, soft and irregular bursts of static. He tightened his grip, finger brushing the trigger guard. The light was coming from the living room. He followed it, every instinct screaming to turn around. When he reached the doorway, he froze where he stood. A television sat in the center of the room, draped in a tattered, blood-stained sheet. The blue glow underneath pulsed, throwing shadows against the walls. The static grew louder, almost whispering. He called out, "Claire," but his voice sounded small, lost. Then he heard it. Muffled crying broke from behind the sheet. Alex's heart hammered in his ears as he raced towards the sheet. He reached out with one shaking hand, fingers brushing the damp fabric. "Please," a voice whimpered from beneath. He clenched his jaw, swallowed, and ripped the sheet away. For a second, his world caved in around him as tears flooded his eyes. A faint sickness washed over him as he felt like he was about to pass out. On the screen sat Claire, beaten and gagged, tied to a chair, helpless, hurt, eyes wide with terror. "Jesus Christ," Alex breathed, stumbling forward. The gun clattered from his hand as he dropped to his knees beside the TV. Her torso was exposed as 3 metal hooks pierced her skin, burying deep into her stomach either side of her ribcage, attached to metal chains that hung loose. Claire," Alex fighting to speak as he choked on his wife's name, numb in shock from what he saw, willing himself to know where she was. As he watched in horror, 2 figures wearing the same haunting white porcelain masks appeared either side of his wife as she sobbed uncontrollably, trembling in fear. The sound of her deep, haunting voice echoed from the TV. "Welcome to your own personal live stream, Alex. We told you. You dug too deep this time. You wanted to find us, so here we are. And now, you're part of the show. We hope you're ready for this one, as it's going to be a good one." As soon as the chilling words left the TV, the figure pressed a button as the metal chains attached to Claire began to tighten. The chains reeled in as they began to pull on Claire's torso, the unbearable pain evident as her muffled screams cried for help, tears seeping from her bloodshot eyes. Blood beginning to ooze from her exposed sides. Alex looked on helplessly, in horror. The chains slowed as they met the resistance of Claire's torso, her eyes widening as she screamed in pure agony, her body unable to hold any more as the chains continued to tighten. The sound of cracking bones echoed through the TV, with the haunting sounds of Claire's excruciating screams tormenting Alex as he watched the sight of his wife's ribcage tearing wide open as her insides poured out from her mutilated body. Her screams falling silent, her pleading eyes stared back at Alex as the life drained from them. "No, Claire, no!" Alex screamed as his hand smashed onto the TV, not able to comprehend what he had witnessed. Having lost all sense of his surroundings, the distinct sound of movement crept up behind him. His grip tightened on his Beretta as he turned, aiming the gun as the sight of 2 figures had homed in on him. Bang! The gun fired. Alex winced in pain as he looked down to see the sight of a metal blade buried deep within his stomach. The figure had been too close. The bullet had strayed and missed its target. The haunting eyes of a face smeared in clown makeup stared into Alex's soul as they leaned in, twisting the metal deep. Alex winced in pain, feeling his intestines twist around the sharp metal blade that penetrated his stomach as it rotated back and forth before being ripped out, followed by a sea of maroon pouring from his gaping wound. He fell to his knees as the figure stepped back. The other figure immediately pounced on Alex, pulling his arms behind his back as he wrestled his wrists together with zip ties. The circulation to Alex's hands cut off as the ties dug deep into his wounds. Bound and bleeding out, Alex looked up at the two figures standing over him. "Why are you doing this?" he forced through the pain. "Oh, I think you know who we are." The menacing figure stared down at a broken Alex. "You see, when you found our dear friend, just like he warned you, you became visible to us. You can't just enter our dark corner of the world and think that we don't see you." The intruder knelt, holding the blade to Alex's throat. "Now, you're part of the show, and we've got big plans for you. You haven't seen anything yet. It's only just beginning." The blade rested across Alex's throat as the haunting clown face looked back at him. "Get the box!" The intruder ordered his masked accomplice, who dragged in a chest big enough to fit a human. As Alex's weary eyes looked up, his heart sank, as the familiar sight of the chest he saw Lucy held captive in was now in his front room. The lid opened wide as the glistening barbed wire shone in the moonlight. The sobering reality hit him as he knew that he was next. The masked figures grappled Alex, pulling him up as they threw him into the chest, the razor-edged wire cutting deep into his skin. The haunting clown face stared down at Alex. "We've got big plans for you, but not before we show you what we have planned for your daughter. She's part of the show, too." Those sickening words hit Alex harder than any of the pain pulsing through his wounded body as he struggled to get free. "No, no, you motherfucker, no, I'll kill you." The fighting screams echoed from Alex as he strived to free himself. "Find the girl," the haunting figure demanded. He stood over the chest, looking down at Alex with no remorse in his eyes. "Shame her daddy won't stop what's coming. You're in our world now. It's playtime." The deep voice rang out into the thunderous night as he slammed the lid shut on Alex. "No, please!" The last embers of light disappeared as silence fell and darkness consumed him. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this creepy dark web original. We hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully it got your heart racing. We have plenty more originals coming soon, so keep your eye out. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new terrifying stories. Plus, it really helps us out, and we appreciate you guys. And if you're new here, welcome. If there's any particular horror stories or topics you'd like to hear, let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to include them. Until next time, remember, fear lies within.